especially if everything she says is true. If she's already gotten like a rape kit and all of that, like fuck, whoever it is, you know, they are who they are. It's not like the DNA is going to change. So there's just like no benefit. But like just that off chance that he accidentally gives the name of a friend and it turns out that's not the guy. And now this guy gets hardcore roped into everything because he's like, well, fuck, you know, she's a victim. I should say something. Like,
but that would then fall on the legal system of making mistakes and making errors. The guy just saying, oh, this is the name of the person you're presenting me a photo of. I guess I just don't see there being
I would agree. It could just fall
or legal ramification.
Well, yeah, it could fall in the legal system, but that's why, you know, like people say like don't talk to the cops because you don't want to leave the chance up at that point to make a big mistake. Like, okay, well, hopefully the legal system catches it and everything's good.
Sure. I guess my issue is that like I feel this like I agree like don't talk to the cops is fine. I think that what's happening with the Kai situation though is Kai has made some pretty fundamental mistakes in how he's dealt with this. And then when people point out the mistakes, it's, oh, you know, well, the legal team said this, or there were legal considerations or legal concerns. So even if I was to accept what you're saying in regards to this, there still was no reason for him to do other things in the conversation. Like,
I think that the biggest mistake that he made, if we say there's a mistake, is I think he was pretty poor in his communication with the girl. I could agree with that.
Okay. So, but I think it goes beyond that as well, because there are times in the conversation where he says things which, at the very least, imply that he doesn't know the person at all. And I would argue, even more explicitly, are a statement that I don't know who this person is.
Maybe. It seems like he says that when he's like, oh, I don't know everyone at the party or whatever. Maybe, yeah. Which is dumb. But I mean, like, I just don't consider that. I don't think in the grand scheme of things it matters that much. She already did the rape kit. Like, he doesn't have an obligation to tell her anything. Like, he could just say, like, hey, fuck you, go to the cops, figure your shit out, bye. Like, he has every right to say that. He doesn't have an obligation necessarily to help her do anything at all. But I mean, like, yeah, I think his communication was pretty poor for sure. I don't know if that's like a huge thing in this particular point to me.
Sure. I mean, just to be clear, I'm not saying he should be like, you know, Giga cancelled or anything like that. I think that there's people that have been way too extreme in the way that they spoke about what Kai did. But on the other side of that, there's people that are, you know, contributing to this idea that Kai didn't do anything substantively wrong or you know, acted in a better way than I think he truly did, because I do think he was kind of negligent in how he dealt with this. And, you know, there was a rape that happened at his party and he was kind of dismissive, didn't respond to messages at certain times. You know, invoking the legal team to say I couldn't speak, but still continuing to speak to them, despite apparently consulting the legal team. Saying the legal team said I couldn't speak to anyone, but then speaking to his friend. There are these kind of inconsistencies that now exist in his story, which I think are rooted in him being dishonest in how he spoke to her originally, that are now spiraling out to, you know, more extreme conspiracies. But
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like I said, I think his communication was pretty dog shit for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know then. I don't know what we really disagree on. I think that you're probably over-egging the pudding, I guess, on the police thing. I don't think he needs to be concerned about the police aspect.
I think you absolutely got to be concerned. There's like some random shit that you could say where you have
Let me put it differently. Let me put it differently, right? Okay. I think it's reasonable for him to be concerned. Okay. So I think that part is fine. But him being concerned doesn't demonstrate that there is actually factually like an issue with giving the name, right?
I mean, I think you don't know. These guys are like, when cops are putting shit together, like they can weave together stories that like you wouldn't even believe. Here's like, this is an example, I guess. I don't know. You know, everybody has their own experience. I consider myself a pretty smart person. I think that like I can talk to the cops and I won't get in trouble because I'm smart. I'm too smart for that, right? This is kind of what my thought. So when I was coming back from Germany once, well, this was like 10 years ago, I think. I was flying back from Germany and I got pulled aside for interrogation and they start talking to me and they just start asking me like a ton of basic questions. Like, oh, like, did you pack your bags? Did anybody else do it? Did you blah, blah, blah? And it's like, oh, no, it's just me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you saw them the whole time? Yeah, of course. Oh, well, what'd you do this morning? Oh, I woke up. It's like, oh, cool. What'd you do? Blah, blah, blah. I went to this place. Oh, cool. Tell me about it. Okay, yeah, I did some StarCraft stuff. You know, okay, cool. Did you go to the bathroom? Anything before you left? Yeah, of course. I went to the bathroom or whatever. Oh, is it a big bathroom, small bathroom? Oh, I think it's kind of small. But I was like, oh, cool. Did your stuff out in the room or whatever? And it's like, yeah. I put it on the couch. I went to the bathroom. It's like, oh, okay. So you didn't actually see your bags the entire time, like you said you did earlier. And as soon as the interrogator said that, I realized I fucked up so bad. And I got so nervous. And I was like, well, I mean, I saw them most of the time. And on that one question, there was like an hour or two more of like, can I see your phone? Can you tell me exactly? And I didn't even realize like how mind fucked I got during that conversation. I was like, holy shit. So, and I mean,
wait, who are you talking to? You were talking to some fucking authority figure, some
yeah, but
security
what I'm
guard, right?
saying is that like I just when it comes to things that might be like admissible as evidence, you have no idea like what random thing you might say, and then all of a sudden it's like a huge thing, right? What if it is the case that this rape trial doesn't have much evidence? Say the rape kit comes back kind of inconclusive, and the only piece of evidence that has is like Kai somehow confirming that like, yeah, that guy is my friend and that's his name and I think that was his room, and like, what if it's some shit like that and that's the only thing that ties that guy to the rape thing? Now if he really did do it, I guess that's good, but if he didn't do it, he's like fucked because of some shit that Kai said, where Kai would have been like, if I would have known that it was this important, I would have got a lawyer before this conversation. That's all I'm saying. That like, it seems improbable, but like there are so many ways that talking to the cops or saying things like that can get you completely fucked. You don't even realize how.
You keep saying talking to the cops. Okay, can we just make something clear?
Yeah.
We're not talking to the cops, are we?
I kind of consider this. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah.
So
like if somebody gets like killed or murdered or some shit, and somebody starts texting me like, "Hey, what happened Friday night?" Like, unless I'm an idiot, anything I say at that point is going to show up in front of a judge, a prosecutor, a jury, a police officer, an investigator. Like, that's going to happen, right? Yeah, I mean, like that's just common sense to me. I could be wrong, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Sure. There's a big difference here as well. So I think it's wrong to compare this to talking to the cops on the face of it, but also when you are talking to the cops or like arrested or something like that, you've got like Miranda rights that you read.
Yeah.
Right. So that affords you a legal protection that isn't afforded and isn't the same as if you're talking to someone in DMs, sure. Right? So that's going to fundamentally impact the difference in how those two situations are affected.
Well, no, I mean, they can still use anything you say to this other person as admissible as evidence, of course. You don't have, like, a random stranger doesn't need to read your Miranda rights before you incriminate yourself. You can absolutely do self-incrimination, just not in front of an investigator.
Sure.
That hasn't read your Miranda rights.
You know, I would agree with you if we were talking about the fact that Kai had like committed a crime or something like that, or if Kai was being asked, "Do you know who raped me?"
Yeah, but like,
what is being asked for is just identification of a photo.
What if it was, right? What if he identified that person and that person was his friend and she asks another question and he says like, oh yeah, like that was his room or whatever, and somehow it gets wound up as like cops are like, I think that you sent him to that room and I think you wanted him to rape her. What if it was the case, I don't know this, but what if it was the case that earlier he texted joking to some friends like, oh shit, like I'm gonna send a bad bitch up to your room or whatever and you guys can have fun. Maybe he said that shit as a joke, but now since he said a little bit in the messages to that other girl, cops get a subpoena, they check his phone, they see that joke, and now they're spinning that in front of a jury. And it's like, well, hey, he joked about saying this shit earlier. Here he's sending this. Like, I'm not saying that this will happen. I'm just saying that you never know when it comes time to talking to the cops or being in front of like a jury or investigators. Like, holy shit, like stuff can get so crazy so quickly, you know?
I agree that if the situation was different, it would be different. Yes, I agree with that, right? But that we're not talking about that. You're saying that this is like talking to the cops when all that's being asked for is the identity of a person in a photo. So this is what I mean by you're over-egging the pudding by making out like that is the same as talking to the cops about it. Where I think that whilst I agree that he probably thought, oh shit, I need to speak to a lawyer, that's reasonable. I don't think there actually exists legal ramifications for simply saying this is the person in the photo that you're showing me there.
Yeah, it might not. Like, if I'm being honest, like I probably like 98% agree with you. Like, I don't think that he can get any trouble for it. The only thing is, it just goes to what I said earlier. There's absolutely zero benefit to doing so, and in some like outrageous cases it might hurt him, especially if the conversation continues. That's the only thing I'm saying. Like, I probably agree, like Nate said, like I doubt him identifying someone in a photo is going to get him in trouble, maybe, but like why risk anything, right? Also, wait, hold on real quick.
98% agreement. Okay.
Yeah, wait, one sec, real quick. Someone in my chat said, that's not how third-party evidence works, Dustin. You keep claiming things to be as evidence when it can't. I don't know what you're talking about. Text messages between two people are absolutely admissible evidence in court. I don't know what you're talking about. Unless it's like hearsay, unless Kai is saying like, oh, my friend said this or whatever, and like that person can't be brought into court for like cross-examination or something like that. Of course, text messages between Kai and the girl are absolutely admissible evidence in court. I don't know why you're saying they can't be. That's absolutely not true. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, 98% is good. I'm happy with that. Okay. What about the 2% though? What do you disagree on, or is it just the fact that there could be something? Because
yeah, it's just the fact that it could be, because you just never know that there could be something, right? Yeah.
An abundance of caution is fine,
especially when it's like, and this guy is like a famous. This guy's earning 7 figures a year on Twitch. He's got all these people working around and everything. Yeah, like an abundance of caution. I think. Like, how many times when all those stupid Twitch shit and everything comes out, have people have been like, God, this guy was so stupidly like overly cautious, right? And that never happens. It's always like, bro, why didn't you shut the fuck up for a day and wait? Or why didn't you wait? Why didn't you send this to cops